Welcome to the 2018 APTA National Championships presented by our national sponsors Viking, Savertree and Uline, and our local sponsors Phil's Automotive Group, Midwest Orthopedics at Rush, RBC Wealth Management and Chicago Platform Tennis Charities. We are live at the Glenview Club in Gulf, Illinois on the APTA network presented by eNet Live. I'm Jerry Viant, along with Mark Fischel, bringing you the men's final between the number 2 seeds Broderick and Palmer and the number 1 seeds Hughes and Powers. And Mark Fischel, I think we're in for a tremendous battle here.
Well, this is the match everybody's been waiting to see, Jerry. It's obviously the top 2 teams in the country. Nobody's beaten Hughes and Powers since October. And they had a win over Broderick and Palmer at Long Island.
And we see Shannon Vinson, our tour director, out on the court, and our chair umpire Michael Montalbano,
who's also the APTA Umpires Committee chair.
As the players are getting onto the court, Mark, why don't we take a look at the draw and talk about the path the players took to get here?
Broderick Palmer had a relatively easy route. Hughes and Powers had a slight tussle this morning with Durant Parsons, 6-2, 2-6, 6-2.
And in prior rounds, unlike the women's draw where they really had some 3-set battles and match points down, I don't think these teams have dropped a set.
Well, obviously Hughes Powers dropped a set in the semis, but
right.
Nothing earlier than that.
Prior to that.
And both teams are very fresh, and I don't expect fatigue to be a factor, as I think it probably was, and you and Patty Hogan probably discussed this in the women's final.
Okay, so as the players are warming up, why don't you go ahead and talk about each player and where they are on the court so we can identify them and what strengths they may have.
Okay, so Jared Palmer, the deuce court closest to us, wearing the pink hat, is one of the most accomplished tennis players ever to play platform tennis. 2-time Grand Slam champion, former number 1 in the world in doubles, top 35 in singles, possessor of probably the best volley in the country. Big question with Jared is how sharp he's going to be. Living out in California these days, he plays very little paddle. His partner in the fatigue jacket and blue and red, white and red hat is Drew Broderick. Drew's a lefty. Drew is is the fiercest competitor in the game. Great discipline, great tactician, and he and Palmer are the 3-time defending national champions. On the far side of the court, the lefty in the blue vest is John Hughes. Very athletic, moves really well, drives the ball exceptionally well off the wires, and just really good at retrieving the ball and putting one more ball in place. And his partner is Mark Powers. Mark's wearing the red shirt and black hat. Many people, myself included, think that Mark has kind of ascended to be the best player in the country. Of course, he needs to deliver today to wrest that title out of the hands of Drew Broderick. Mark drives the ball off of both sides. He's got a short backswing, explodes into the ball, volleys really well, moves really well. He's the complete package. He's kind of a mini Johan Durant in a lot of ways.
And Hughes and Powers are undefeated since December.
Since October there. They lost 2 matches all year, one to our chair umpire, Michael Montalbano, at the Patterson Open, and then they lost in the finals of the Steel City Open in Pittsburgh in late October to Araya Morneau. Since then, they've spanked everybody. Their coming out party was in Long Island at the Dwayne Hayden Invitational, where they beat Araya Morneau in the semis and then Broderick Palmer in the finals. They have then proceeded to beat Durant Parsons the last 3 times and Araya Morneau a couple more times. So they've really separated themselves from the field, and as we talked about in our draw landscape show back on Thursday, Jerry, these are the 2 teams that you expected to see in the finals.
And just before the match gets started, I'd like to bring in the APTA president, Scott Bondurant. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you very much.
This is an exciting day for all of paddle.
Indeed, it's just a celebration of our sport, and it's awesome to have the 2 best teams in the country out here doing battle for also really fantastic for the APTA. We're really pleased to announce a 5-year contract extension with Viking Athletics to support our sport. They're really the premier brand and leading provider of paddles and balls, and they're stepping up in a really major way to support the game and platform tennis. So, their contributions can help us do a ton of things, such as live scoring and live streaming. It's a great relationship, and I really encourage everybody out there to think about using Viking paddles and Viking balls and help support the game. I also want to touch on our other sponsors, Save a Tree and Uline, which are enormously valuable to us. And finally, and really most importantly, is all you APTA member league players out there all over the country that allow us to do all the things that we do to try and support the game, besides the live streaming and live scoring. Things like clinics and exhibitions, loans and grants for public access sports. We've got the National League Championships coming up here on April 7th and 8th. So if your team out there wants to play for a national championship at any level, you can do it. Come out to Chicago and play and just have a ball. We also, I think you're probably aware, because I know that the gang has been talking about it, but there's a national B titles this year as well, which is again exciting for all levels for players at just below this level. So thank you everybody for all you do for the sport, and I'll turn it back to Jerry and Mark.
And thank you, Scott. It's tremendous vision and leadership from the APTA president, and bringing in all the initiatives and everybody here. The crowds are building at the Glenview Club. And Mark, why don't we take a look at the keys, the Viking keys to winning for Broderick and Palmer.
Well, controlled tempo, Jerry. I mean, that's Drew Broderick's staple. Plays a very slow style, very conservative, never wants to miss, and that's the style that he's brought to the game that was so effective counteracting Durant Parsons.
And he does have weapons, but he's very patient and will wait for this, has a willingness and a tenacity to wait for that right ball. He never feels pressured into taking a swing that he's not set up for.
It's in play.
And they need to find Powers at the net, and that was a function of what happened on Long Island.
If it hits the snowboard with a banner on it, it's in play.
So Montalbano's discussing how we're handling the snowboards if the ball hits the snowboard. Yeah, at Long Island they were very effective. Hughes and Powers were in Hughes hitting a lot of hard overheads into Palmer's corner, and then the Powers would cut the ball off and punch the ball behind him.
Can we kill the music?
And I think that's going to be a critical component of the match. Jared's living out in California these days. He doesn't have a paddle on his hand with any real frequency, and we'll see how sharp he is. And to be honest, they really haven't been tested the entire tournament. And the next key, which is find Hughes in the backcourt, is a similar one, because you want to avoid Powers' offense and his explosiveness. And a lot of teams like to play Hughes in the middle of the court, make him drive the ball off the deck. So let's take a look at the keys to victory for Hughes Powers. And the big thing for them, we have 3 listed here, but for me there's really one.
Mark Powers from New York City, New York, and John Hughes from Enfield, Connecticut. To my right, Drew Broderick from Summit, New Jersey, and Jared Palmer from Menlo Park, California. Due to a tardiness penalty, Broderick Palmer have lost the toss and first point of the match. Hughes Powers elected to receive.
So Jerry, let me finish the keys to victory. We
talk
from Montalbano. So manage the occasion. This is their first national final, and it's different. It's different than every other match they play.
I've spoken about there are final nerves and there are national championships nerves, and this is the first time for Hughes and Powers. Last year they were happy to make the semifinals. This year they've come in expecting to be in the finals and expecting to win, so they're in new territory emotionally. And that's what we'll be watching for. And I think that could be really all three keys, but also control the tempo. They like to play fast. They have a big transition game. They're so athletic. They cover each other. They take their big shots. And then find Palmer, which is hard to believe that you're going to give the ball to Palmer, but based on what you said earlier.
Well, only someone of Jared's talent and ability could be playing the game at the level he's playing it with the frequency that he's on the court. It's just unbelievable to me that he's able to do this. When he first told me he was moving to California, I thought that was it as a top player. And yet last year, with a similar schedule, a slightly better schedule for his purposes, he still won the national championship. And the times that I've seen him play this year, he has not been as sharp.
Not as sharp, yeah.
Atlantic, Long Island, Short Hills. Didn't play badly by any stretch, but didn't play at the level that Jared Palmer is accustomed to playing.
Now, a difference here in the National, this is their third day of play. And as we've witnessed before, Jared Palmer worked his way into the tournament, and he's got 3 days
Mark,
of
okay
play
starting with a new ball?
under his belt. So, Mark, let's just talk about what we just heard our umpire, Michael Montalbano, say that there was a lateness penalty.
Broderick and Palmer were late getting here, and they were penalized as the toss and the first point of the match. Now, Jerry, we were talking a little bit off air. If you know your opponent's been penalized a point, does that change your attitude in terms of your selection to serve or to receive, or would you maintain whatever selection you'd have otherwise?
Well, I think I'd stay with what I had, the game plan, keep everything comfortable. They've obviously talked about it. They chose to receive. It allows you to get into the match.
Yeah, this is Broderick Palmer's 4th consecutive final, and Broderick made two finals with Chris Gambino, one successfully, one unsuccessfully. So this is his 6th national final since 2012.
And they're chasing the most current record of Manziger Goodspeed, who won 5 consecutive in a row.
Yeah, the match has it's a dream setup, Jerry.
Yeah, and it's fantastic setup here. I mean, Chicago is home to the largest league in the country. They have over 7,500 players playing on the court every week in their leagues, and 160 courts with over 35 facilities. It is really a paddle mecca out here. And big thank you to tournament directors John Noble and Shannon Vinson and Alan Graham have done a spectacular job. This is a military maneuver. The logistics pulling this together, including President's Cup, over the 3 days, and the players love coming out here.
I guess we're missing Jared Palmer.
You can see it's quite sunny, blue sky out here.
Beautiful setting at the Glenview Club, as it always is. Big crowd.
And the temperature's warmed up a little bit from this morning. It's 37 degrees. So do you think the temperature of the ball being a little cooler favors one team over the other?
You know, Broderick likes warm weather, makes retrieving easier. But Powers and Hughes are great at retrieving also, so I don't know that it benefits everybody. Here we go. Practice serve for Broderick. And now get started.
15 all.
That backhand of Hughes has improved so much this year off the wires. One of the big steps forward he's made.
Add to the list. They've both improved all around on all of their shots. I mean, they've practiced, they've drilled.
15-40.
They've bought the most important thing is they've become much more consistent and willing to stay in there. And there's a big nick serve by Drew Broderick.
30-40.
Little John Hughes' own medicine.
So Drew Broderick is a director of racket sports at the Canoebook Country Club in New Jersey. He's in the green. He's the lefty.
Oh. Big forehand and blitz from Powers. And Jerry, I gotta say, with our #1 key to victory,
First set.
they don't look phased in the slightest to me starting out. That was a large forehand, and I think he surprised Broderick or Palmer blitzing in behind it because it came so far off the back wires.
I think the semifinal they had with Durant Parsons would have helped a little bit with that, getting the nerves out and getting a feel of the court and speed of play. And they had a little bit of a dip in that match and then came back strong.
It was a fast first game. It's not the tempo Broderick Palmer are going to want to play at. John Hughes to serve. He's serving to Jared Palmer in the white and black hat. And there's the spin that you worry about Palmer's being able to handle, having played so little this year.
And there's a vicious about a spin on that.
That's the play they use so effectively at Long Island. Hughes hitting the overheads at Palmer, and Powers looking to cut the ball off.
And the overhead that he's hitting is making Jared Palmer have to move back and to his right as the ball's coming at him.
Powers has gotten so good at the net, cutting balls off. A little confusion from Broderick Palmer there.
Wow, look at the spin on that ball. It is just exploding. And it's going to be if Jared Palmer can stay composed enough as he's spinning around trying to find that overhead.
And Hughes Powers' game plan is very visible very early.
And you see Drew Broderick lobbing to Powers, as we talked about. I mean, they don't want Hughes hitting that big spin overhead.
Look for Palmer to take a couple of his drives down Powers' line. Powers has done a really good job of kind of cheating to the middle, taking that drive away, and I think Palmer's got to keep him honest.
40-15.
Jerry, which team do you think has more belief?
The guys in the red
Game, Hughes
have, they
Powers,
just
everything
have
for
that
2 games to
look
love.
that they know they've got all these tournaments under their belt. I think Broderick Palmer, don't get me wrong, I think they believe they can win, but they haven't had that lead up that these two guys in the red have had. I mean, all their foundation and then their homework has just paid off, and they're peaking at the right time, and they really do believe that it's their year to win the national title.
The process, as you like to call it.
Yes, They have really embraced the process and loved the journey, and the results come.
Here you see what we talked about.
Oh,
what a
look
shot
at
from
that.
Hughes.
Just spectacular playmaking.
The
And
crowd erupts.
we've seen Hughes elevate his offense and his belief.
And there's Power's athleticism on display.
Love 30.
They've just had that look since Long Island when it started for them. But Broderick Palmer have the titles that go.
Love 40.
Jerry Broderick
Yep.
missed that overhead by a yard and a half.
I saw I had to stop talking because I had to take a double look.
How aggressive Powers is being blitzing behind virtually every return.
That's too good.
Great shot from Broderick there.
15,
That's what I was
40.
saying. Broderick Palmer have the titles behind Walk the Walk and have that look.
That ball
That was
missed
good,
long,
that was good,
confirmed.
That was good. That was good. Yes.
I thought Montalbano put his finger out initially. Big reversal of the
30-40.
call there.
Still break point for a 3-love lead.
Give it a chance to really turn things around if they could sneak out a hold here.
And there's our first screen climber, I call these guys. I'd be interested to see if they'll be able to execute that play because Drew being a lefty
Great ball through from
can,
Powers.
can get that ball more into the screen.
It's a big early point in the match. Wow, Broderick with a surprising
Game,
miss, and
Hughes
they're off
Powers,
to
I think the
a
first set,
fast
3 games to
3-love
love.
lead. Jerry, do you think the tardiness penalty has had an impact on the match?
I would say it would be a little unsettling. I mean, I don't ever remember seeing it happen before. Definitely not in a national championship, but
And Broderick looks a little unsettled. We've seen
Yep.
several surprising misses from him in 3 relatively fast games.
yeah, and I don't know if they had a chance to come back and, well, obviously, unless they were warming up at another club, they weren't actually on site. So normally, play a semi-final, you want to take a shower and stretch and just relax and then have your own warm-up before you get into the match.
Well, right now it's one-way traffic.
So John Powers serving.
See a good view of the great crowd here at the Glenview
Love
Club
15.
gathered around the court.
It's a 6-court facility here.
There's Powers again, cutting off the Palmer drive in the middle of the court.
Oh, look at that break spin.
15
He's
all.
going to have to take a couple of balls down Powers' line to keep him honest. Great serve from Powers there.
30-15.
You can see that Palmer's just not reading the ball off the paddle like he normally does.
I like that little scout shot that Mark Powers sends out cross court. Little 3/4 pace.
30 all.
Couple of missed lobs from John Hughes this game.
30 all.
Went for the big serve again and faulted.
30-40.
Chance for Broderick Palmer to get on the board. Oh, what a volley from Powers.
Yeah, he sees the ball so early, Mark.
Wow, that was a strange game from
Broderick Palmer.
Hughes.
Hughes Powers lead 3-1, first set.
2 missed lobs and a missed overhead. Can't afford to give Broderick Palmer anything.
Love 15.
It's the speed of play, I think. I mean, it's Hughes and Powers are just all over them, cutting, volleying, and it's not Drew
15
Broderick's
all.
speed of play right now. And I'm sure they'll work their way into the match.
15-30.
Broderick stays on the backhand volley as well as any lefty who's ever played the game. Another missed lob from
30
Hughes.
all.
That ball was
40,
overhit,
30.
had the court open. Great lob from Hughes, pushed Powers back, pushed Broderick back, and Powers misses the forehand.
Whoa.
First hold of the match for Broderick Palmer takes us to
Game.
3-2.
And you
Broderick
see
Palmer.
where
Hughes Powers
Mark
lead the
Powers
first
was
set,
looking
3
to
games 2.
use that sneaky little move that they've really developed over the season, where he comes in on that down-up overhead. He moves up halfway between the service line and the baseline and tries to spike it, but he just jumped too soon.
Viking Athletics is the premier brand and the undisputed leader in platform tennis. The Viking Extra Duty platform ball has been the #1 selling ball in the industry for the last 20 years. It's the official ball of the APTA, of the APTA Nationals and President's Cup, and of the Grand Prix Tour. Okay, Jerry, it looks like we've got ourselves a match as Broderick Palmer have worked their way into it. A couple holes, a little bit of sloppy play from Hughes Powers.
Love 15. Love 30.
Big forehand from Broderick. Kind of a tentative
Love
swing from
40.
Hughes there.
All right, Mark, we'd like to welcome to the booth Mark Parsons. Welcome, Mark.
Hey guys.
So we'd just like to get your thoughts on the match right now.
Tale of two matches so far. Howard and Hughes came out and played brilliant battle. And Drew and Jared were missing a little bit, and now they're not missing anymore. And it's going to be quite the match, I think, for the rest of the day.
15-40.
Applause from Palmer for the cut overhead from Powers. Mark, obviously you've played both these teams multiple times. What do you think that Hughes and Powers have to do to dethrone Broderick Palmer, other than not miss overheads like that?
They've started off the right way. Hughes is taking that lefty cutter into Jared's corner, and you notice Powers is taking, I think, less than 1 or 2 shots into Drew's side screen, and so far it's worked for them. That being said, there's now more balls going back in the court, and it makes it more difficult to hit those cutters over and over again.
And what do you see that Broderick Palmer have done to change things up and get back in the match after the fast start for Hughes Powers?
You know, Broderick and Palmer are going to stay out there all day, and they're going to play their game. I mean, at 3-love down, Drew was still smiling and cracking jokes with Jared, and they're never out of this. And as you can see right now, they've picked up the pace of play a little bit, meaning in between points, because they're on a little bit of a roll, and they're going to play solid fundamental paddle. And when they get the opportunity for Drew to hit his cutter, that's what they're going to look for, and they're going to make Hughes and Powers beat them.
You guys had a great match with them this morning, you and Durant. What strategy did you employ against Hughes and Powers? Because I know you've seen a bunch of them over the last month and a half.
We had a couple different strategies, and then sun played a little bit of a factor. We decided to go with a few different things. We gave up the net a little bit more than probably we're used to, and kind of, we're hoping to not get stuck in transition points because they are so quick and so good with their hands. But they had a little bit of a lull in the second, which we took advantage of. But then they played a really good third set. Great shot there from Powers.
30-15.
What do you think's been the most improved area of Hughes and Powers? I mean, it's dramatic.
I think it's their lobbing. A bunch of people have asked me that question. I think Hughes is lobbing at a level that we've never seen in the game. His ability to set himself up, but also set up Powers, has been remarkable this year. And look, they're playing with confidence, having not lost a match since October. And it's one of those things that confidence just keeps getting higher and higher throughout the season. I mean, look at this lob right here. That's on the back foot. It's an amazing thing. Sets Mark up. Mark missed the forehand, but Hughes set it up perfectly.
And you think Coach Jim Kaufman has had something to do with that?
I will tell you, Jim Kaufman and Steve Baird are the reason that I won a few national titles. Jim worked with me for years on my volleys, and I know he's working with Powers and Hughes, and I was a little upset to see him on their side of the I guess, player box this morning, but I get it. He's been working with them for a while, but Jim's one of the best in the game when it comes to coaching the sport and playing the sport and helping out a lot of the guys.
And it's not they're not lobbing because they can't drive, just the opposite. It's building the point, and it's been fun to watch their rise.
And you can see how slowly Broderick Palmer are playing. I mean, Jared Palmer had a ball there he could have easily driven shoulder high forehand from the baseline and elected to lob it.
It'll be interesting as this match develops of whether he will start to have to take those drives, depending on how this first set goes, I think.
And Mark, what makes Broderick Palmer so tough?
They don't give you anything. They're a team they're willing to stay out there for 6 hours. I'm convinced they booked their flights for a day after the final match so that they don't have to worry about flights. But they don't give you anything, and they're so solid at the net. I mean, you can see it here right now. They're just going back and forth. Jared's got some of the best hands in the game. and Drew's going to look for that one cutter that he can hurt you on, and if you give it to him, he's going to make you pay for it.
But like you said, the ability of Hughes and Powers to lob higher and deeper takes away that shot.
Exactly right.
Broderick catches the nick, and that's
Game, Broderick
4
Palmer. They lead
consecutive
the first
games
set,
for
4
Broderick
games to
Palmer, and
3.
they lead 4-3 first set.
New ball.
Any other observations out there, Mark?
It's a big momentum game right there. I mean, that's, I think one of the things is Drew and Jared have been here, and they've been here multiple times. It's the first time for Hughes and Powers, and, I remember my first time playing in a national final. It's not the easiest of feelings to be underway.
It was on this court, wasn't it?
It was on this court.
It was with Mike Stulak, I
and
believe.
with Mike against Durant and Porter. I've been in that situation. I know the feeling. I know the feeling of, getting up early in a match and then all of a sudden being down 4-3, and they know it's gonna be a battle. I mean, they know that Drew and Jared were gonna be around for this entire match, regardless of what the score is.
Yeah, I remember the look on your eye when you were going on the court with Mike Stulak. You had the eye of the tiger. It's all about business.
I had some good advice before that match that said you never know when if you ever get back to this situation, so take advantage of it. And I took that to heart.
Was that from the 2009 finalist?
That was from Alex Benchila.
What a volley from Palmer. Few missed lobs
Love
from Hughes.
15.
He had some dips in his match with you guys today, Mark, didn't he? He had some ups and some downs.
I was hoping he was going to have a dip in the third set, but no such luck. He played some ups and downs, but I tell you, on big points, he came up big. He hit through the ball, and I think he'll do the same here as this match progresses.
Great volley from Broderick. Here's an example of how solid Broderick is in that backhand.
Oh,
What an exchange. But Mark
15
Powers
all.
plays the game with just brazen court positioning, just has no fear of anybody.
we were talking about, I nicknamed them the screen climbers because they're moving, they're lobbing so well down the line and then splitting, and they're going halfway between the service line and the baseline looking for that down-up overhead and then spiking it. So they're just, they're playing with you almost.
Well, they won't be seeing too many of those down-up overheads today.
Right. No, I don't think we're going to see too much of that play because Broderick Palmer's, they're not going to let it happen.
And once again, a couple of balls Palmer could have driven, but elected to lob. Playing to their tempo.
And you see that extra cut that Drew Broderick has put on the ball on his overheads in the last couple of years. He's really added a lot more spin. And then Palmer's flat overhead. Mark, talk to us a little bit about that. I'm always surprised when I see him hit it so flat so much. Not even just like a little brush across the back of the ball. It's really like a pancake almost.
Yeah, and he's looking for placement on that. It's a good contrast to Drew's ball.
Yeah.
I mean, you get such a spin ball from Drew, and then all of a sudden the flat one can, oddly enough, throw you off.
And at this level, it really is about the placement. I mean, we're talking about couple of boards.
Couple boards, a little bit extra depth, change the pace slightly.
There's Palmer getting caught in the middle by Powers. We've talked about that.
30 all.
Just need to take a couple of balls behind Powers to keep him honest. Really big game right here early in the match, Jerry.
Oh,
Wow. That's confidence. 3-4, 30 all, Nationals final.
he's feeling it.
Yeah, he's got a lot of belief. Great blitz from Palmer. That's one of the things he does exceptionally well. Broderick will hit that ball that just clears the net in a descending manner, and Palmer follows it up with a blitz. Oh, great backhand from Broderick, way over on Palmer's side. Gives them an opportunity to serve for the set. Break point. Great communication by Broderick. All of a sudden you can see how the tempo has slowed to a crawl.
Yep.
Great point.
Yes.
Surprising end, Jerry.
Little extra cut.
Mark, I asked Jerry this question earlier. I'm going to ask you the same one. Which team do you think has more belief?
I mean, you've got to think that Powers and Hughes, having not lost a match since October, have some serious belief. But I got to tell you, Drew and Jared have got to think that they're the favorites. You look, they've won the last two nationals. These guys, or three nationals, sorry. I was trying to take one away from Drew. These guys play big matches well. Unfortunately, I've been on the opposite side of some of those big matches. And they stick around and they find ways. I mean, look, Jared's completely changed how he's taking Hughes' ball on, that cutter coming into the deuce side now, and it's changed the outcome, or not the outcome, the whole set feeling right now.
Yeah, all week people asked me who I liked, and I said Broderick, Palmer, until they shake hands with somebody, are the favorites to win. What's happened the rest of the season is almost irrelevant.
Deuce.
That was a surprising miss there. This would be a big game for Hughes Powers to get out of with a hold.
Oh,
Good swing from Broderick. Right ball to hit, just fails to
I
execute.
tell you, Powers is so on top of the net, and he sees that ball so early.
Very Durant-esque, isn't it, with his
Yeah.
forehand volley
Yeah.
in the middle? Surprised Broderick hasn't taken one behind him, although really more for Palmer to do.
And
And
it's that
there's the-
spin again,
yep.
that cutter right at the body That's what we saw
Game, Hughes
more
Powers,
earlier
4-4
in
first set.
this set. Go
Huge
right at
hold
the
there.
body.
Huge hold for Powers. 4-all. Getting down to the business end of the set. Look at that volley.
I was surprised that Powers didn't go down Drew's line, though.
That's gone.
Mark, are you seeing the same thing?
Love
Yeah,
15.
no, you can see the line opening there, on Drew, but I don't know if it's just I mean, Mark likes to take that ball at you or through the middle. He will go down the line, but definitely hasn't done it yet.
Beats him in
Love 30.
transition there as Palmer's late to bail. And we've had yet another momentum swing, it appears.
Hughes and Powers win more points in transition, I think, than any team in the nation. They are phenomenal at it.
Well, that was an interesting switch in the backcourt. Obviously eager to get Palmer out of that backhand side.
And this is where they want to be. It's
Love
What did we
40.
say, Jerry?
Yeah.
Find Palmer.
Yep, and Hughes hitting that breaker right deep in the court at Palmer's body, so he has to go back and to his right. So even if he gets it, he's pulled off the court, and then there's the screen climber. There we go.
Goodness.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
whoa,
Oh! We gotta have a replay on that.
Jared Palmer gives him the thumbs up as
That
John Hughes finishes the point by
is-
running around the net.
That is their
That's
play.
unbelievable.
We'll see if we can get a replay of that point. But I mean, whew, talk about to stop the momentum and then flip it around.
Boy, you can really bring it back to that forehand Broderick missed on break opportunity, and all of a sudden they'll be serving for the set.
Yeah, here we go. Let's take a look at that combination where John Hughes is just all over the bounce, the height of the ball, and just came straight down. Here it is again, and then on the blitz.
We missed the amazing shot off the side wire. Looked like he jumped off the side wire a la Mark Parsons. And Hughes will serve for the first set. Powers is just everywhere with that forehand volley at the net. Ball called out, confirmed by chair umpire Montalbano.
Love 15.
You know something about that serve, Mark. I know you've probably seen a little too much of it.
Tell you, Hughes is serving better this year than I've seen anyone serve. He's serving harder, and he's making that ball basically go off screens every time. There it is again with a good return from
15-30.
Jared. But you're having to chase it, and it's especially tough out of the ad corner because you're out of position then for that next ball.
So what would be the best shot to hit off of that?
I mean, it used to be step up and take it off the deck. The issue is he's hitting it with such pace now that you almost have no choice but to let it go through, and your partner's got to switch behind you, and you start the point from your opposite sides.
So you pretty much have to try to
Yeah,
lob
I mean,
it, right?
at the pace he's hitting it, I would be hard pressed to think who could take it off the deck and be able to drive it back with any force. I mean, even blocking it at that point with that much spin is very difficult. Dance move there from Jared.
Palmer lucky to get out of there without a loss of the point. Yeah, those are the misses you just can't afford to have. 15-40.
Surprised he didn't go back at Palmer.
Two break opportunities. And he catches the nick on the first one.
30-40. Game. Broderick Palmer.
Sloppy
5-5
misses there
first
from
set.
Hughes, although Palmer helped cause that one with the blitz, and we're back even at 5.
Jared Palmer serving.
Love.
There's your down the line ball.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, caught the top of the tape.
Powers does such a good job of getting on top of that ball. That's a brilliant shot. Do you think he
15
practices that
all.
one, Mark?
I'd like to know his percentage of making it if he does.
Missed volley from Palmer. You can count the
15-30.
number we'll see in the match from that on one hand.
He hesitated there. I'm seeing like a little
30 all.
chink in John Hughes right now.
That was a ball he could have spiked.
Yeah, he kind of changed his mind. I think he realized he shouldn't spike it from back there as he was mid-swing, and then it was too late to throw up a lob.
Little strategy conference from Broderick Palmer.
30 all, 5 all. It's always good to have a chat.
That's a dangerous shot for Palmer. Some of the athleticism on display from Hughes and Powers covering the net. Powers should have let Hughes hit that ball.
I was thinking the same thing.
Oh, what a volley from Powers. A little bit of
40,
sloppy play
30.
continues from John Hughes. Powers with some encouraging words. Either that or he said start getting the ball in the court more often.
Game.
Serve from
Broderick
Palmer.
They lead the first get. Six,
Powers will
6
serve
games
to
5.
stay in the first set. Mark, what do you attribute the ups and downs of John Hughes throughout the day as we've seen?
I mean, I think John's one of, obviously, they're number one in the nation. He's one of the most solid players in the nation, and it's, you're trying to win your first nationals.
Yeah.
And I think that has, look, we play all year for this event. It's not like, the ATP where you've got 4 Grand Slams and, you're looking to win 1, 2, or however many of those. We play all year for this one weekend, and I think it puts a lot of pressure on a lot of people, and especially when you're trying to win your first one.
Mark Powers serving. 5-6 first set. Men's national championships were at the Glenview Club. And you see it is Broderick Palmer's speed of play.
Another ball Powers could have let Hughes hit.
Love 15. 15 love. 15 love. Sorry. You were.
Great get from Broderick.
Oh, nice cover.
Great get from Powers. Great point. Hughes got his shot, catches the top of the tape. Looks to me like they're getting away from the game plan a little bit as
Yeah,
Powers
I
has
was-
stepped to the middle.
I was
hit a
just
few
thinking
more
the same
overheads.
thing. That's what they started early in the first set. Is getting Palmer to move back into his right, and they've gotten away from it.
And it's so difficult if you're a Mark Powers with all your ability and talent to let a ball that you can easily hit through to your partner. That's what having a game plan's all about. Get off the seam. Don't know there's a quicker player in the country than Drew Broderick. Your shovel shot, Jerry.
Oh. Mark, at the end of this rally, I want you to tell me how Mark Powers hits that cut dropper.
Hopefully that was directed at Mark Parsons.
Yeah, he was.
Have you ever seen me play, Jerry?
That was my next comment.
But I've heard that you're a fabulous pro.
Like the cut dropper, I always say I'm really good at hitting them in clinic, but not really good at hitting them in matches. You know, those guys get underneath it, and it's as I tell people, if you're trying to do it, it's got to be a violent swing because you've got to basically catch very little of the ball, and you've got to hope that you can spin it in the right direction. Great ball there from Powers.
catches the nick.
But we're just seeing
40,
more and more
30.
players hit that shot in the last couple of years.
It's become the norm. I mean, there's guys hitting it now. There's guys hitting spin overheads on their back foot. I mean, that just wasn't the case 4 or 5 years ago. You had a couple guys doing spin balls, and that was it.
Palmer gets caught blitzing, and we'll play a
huge game.
tiebreak to decide who's going to win the first set. Who do you like, Mark?
Can I tell you halfway through the tiebreak?
Who, you Lauren Mandel?
I tell you, look, I'm enjoying watching it, and it's.
That's a brave prediction.
I will. I'll go Jared and Drew.
Okay.
I think they've got a little momentum here. I think they. I think after being down a decent amount in the first here, they've been the more solid team down the stretch.
Not by much, but Hughes misses another lob.
Broderick Palmer.
The great lobbers miss more lobs, Mark? I mean, is that part of the bargain you have to make to lob deep?
Yeah, I think, look, height's such an important part of it. We always say the goal is to never lob long because, you know, you're still in the point if you're lobbing short. Now, with the way these guys can spin the ball, there could be probably some argument for that. But, you know, ideally you don't want to see them long.
Another great combination.
1-1.
Powers hits the winner. Hughes set it up with the big spin overhead at Palmer. Powers gets caught for a
2-1,
change
Broderick Palmer.
on the forehand side. Have he lost that ball or not?
John Hughes is looking directly into the sun when that ball goes into the back screen, side back screen.
Great forehand from Powers. Mark, how do you feel
2-2.
about lying on the court like Mark Powers just did, apologizing
Oh, you mean after he hit a let court?
and celebrated?
You know, look, it's something that a lot of us with tennis backgrounds know, just
3-2, Broderick
apologizing
Palmer.
for let court, so on and so forth. I mean, I remember when I first started the game, I used to apologize when I hit a nick. And
That must have gotten old very quickly.
I was soon told by multiple people that it was okay not to apologize after you hit the nick.
Especially how many times you hit the
Yeah.
nick.
So, but it's kind of something we've grown up with. So a lot of us do it.
Mark insists on asking everybody that question, and everybody but him says the same thing. It's part of the game. It's the tradition.
And the greatest was he didn't even tell me anything beforehand. So.
I think it's been our running line all season long. One of many. Oh, that was the shot
4-2,
though.
Broderick Palmer.
Couple of misses from Powers. Little separation for the first time in the
I
tiebreak.
think maybe Broderick's baiting him into hitting that shot, that he doesn't have that shot down the line?
He's got it because he's hit it on me a number of times.
Okay.
But
Well, that answers that question.
the difference may be with Broderick being the lefty.
4-3,
Maybe
Broderick
he's got the ability to cut that off a little bit more, so Mark's afraid to go there. I know with me, he hits it on my right hip every time, and it's not a shot that I love seeing coming at me.
Because it just looks so open there. Because see where
Yeah, no, he
Broderick's
plays-
standing, right?
He's playing way to the
He's
off
got to
the
give
alley.
up something if he's going to stay on that backhand volley as consistently as he does.
We're talking about Drew Broderick, who's in the green. He's the lefty. See where he stands. He's like tempting powers.
Wow.
5-3, Broderick.
It's a little bit of a blurt right there, Jerry. The ball was out by a yard.
You see the body language of John Hughes. Oh! Now there's the shot down the line. He's definitely got it.
And
5-4, Broderick
I think
Palmer.
it probably has a little bit to do lefty-righty. I mean, it's a harder ball for the righty because we have to move into the alley, which opens up so much of the middle of the court. And if he goes, if we don't move over, all of a sudden it's on our right hip, and we're always forced to let it go through or hit a forehand volley. Drew doesn't have that issue over there.
Right.
He has that lefty volley already in place, so that may have something to do with his thought pattern.
But you see him just loading up with his legs.
And you see Palmer blocking those spin overheads from going into the back screen.
And then he's forcing John to hit it harder, which then means it's going to come around the screen, which is giving him the high back. And he did the same thing against me for years with when I used to take the roller into his side. And he would sit there and block all day long. And then I had to hit it harder. And then all of a sudden he's on the service line hitting a high backhand at us, which was not fun.
Palmer's played this point brilliantly. Really moving him around. If John Lubauer were here, he'd say this is a big point. Palmer does such a great job of blitzing without exposing himself to danger. I guess when you've got Grand Slam hands, you can get away with that.
I was going to say his volleys have something to do with that.
And how about that lob volley from Hughes over Palmer's head as he was coming in?
But Jared really has him on a string this point.
Oh my God. Oh. Oh,
Great
wow.
exchange. The crowd's on its feet. At least Jeff Morneau is.
Jared is grinning from ear to ear.
5-5.
They have no idea what this.
Is
Now
it
they do.
It says who serves.
It
5-all.
happens all the time.
I mean, Palmer started grinning halfway through that point.
Okay, someone's going to have set point at the conclusion of this one. Dr. Detroit, I couldn't agree with you more. Jeff Hodges watching in Michigan. Great volley from Powers, big overhead.
And that's like
Takes him to
shot
set
again.
point.
In Philly, he hit a shot like that straight. Mark Powers, he hit it
Okay,
straight
so
off
Jerry,
of a straight lob.
all four players are switching sides, except they shouldn't be switching sides.
Oh, they did?
Shows you how focused everybody is right
I want to
here.
ask you about that shot.
Set
when
point.
we're back.
Broderick and Palmer are playing a lot of balls into the Hughes corner. Great lob there from Hughes. Catches the lead cord and it's good.
And here's the play that started out the first set.
Oh,
Yep.
Palmer with the blitz. Game in first set. Hughes Powers.
7-6.
7-6. Jerry, that was terrific stuff. What'd you see? What do you think?
Yep. I want to talk to Mark Parsons first. Mark, I was just in the middle of asking you about that shot that Mark Powers hit that breaks, hits the back screen and drops. In Philly, he hit it with so much spin, a piece of the ball chunked off.
Chunked off. Yeah, we've seen a couple balls this week actually where a chunk has come out of the ball. But I mean, it just goes to show you the level that these guys are spinning the ball at now over the last few years. The younger generation of players, and then Juan's doing it as well, where they're just putting so much action on the ball, and it's causing the ball to do things we've never seen before, and it's all fun. We try to figure it out every time someone's hitting to us, and it's making the game more interesting and more lively.
Well, Mark, I want to thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for
wish
having
you
me.
all the best into your tennis season at Siwanoy Club.
Exactly right.
And hope to see you back in the paddle courts in the future.
That's the plan. Thank you, guys.
All right, well, we'll be back in a moment after these messages right here on the APTA Network, presented by eNet Live.
Baseball has a rhythm. Pop, crack. It's the sounds of opportunity. That's why Good Sports helps kids get in the game by getting them the equipment they need. To learn more, please visit goodsports.org.
When it comes to the game of life, we're all on the same team. And success comes simply from trying. You don't have to be a celebrated athlete to celebrate being active. And you don't have to be on the field to have your own cheering section. United Healthcare.
Welcome back to the 2018 APTA National Championships. We are here at the men's finals. And Mark, we just saw a fantastic first set, but before we get into the second set, I'd just like to bring back our APTA president, Scott Bondurant, because apparently some people couldn't hear the mic properly, so take it away, Scott.
Were people happy or unhappy about that, Jerry? I wasn't sure.
I appreciate that, Mark. Thank you very much. So wanted just again to step up and thank Viking. We've just signed a 5-year contract extension. So Viking, the premier brand and leading provider of paddles and balls in the sport, is really stepping up to help support the game, and really want to encourage all you folks out there to think about using Viking paddles and Viking balls when you go out to play. And want to just spend a minute on our other sponsors, Save a Tree and Uline. Again, their contributions are very important. And finally, thank you to all you APTA League members out there. I mean, you guys are really the ones that enable us to do what we do here in terms of live streaming, live scoring, grants and loans for public access courts, clinics, exhibitions, and now we've got a couple of ways for folks aside from the folks that we're seeing right here to play the National League to get national titles. So the National League Championships, I had the date wrong before. It's April 14th and 15th, as well as the B Nationals. So thank you all for your love of the game and making it what it is. And let me turn it over here
Thank you, Scott.
good.
We're just going to bring in Coach Kaufman, Jim Kaufman. Welcome to the booth. And Jim has been working with Hughes and Powers, and I know you want to concentrate and get back out there, but we'd appreciate if you could share your thoughts on the first set.
Yeah, incredible set. I mean, 4 dead even players, and that one point has to be the best point I've ever seen. It was incredible. I think the key for Mark and John, and for both teams, frankly, is lobbing. Every time they lob well, they end up with offensive chances, and that seems to determine most of these points.
And when you say lob well?
High and deep.
Mark Parsons was talking what a tremendous lobber John Hughes has become. He thinks he's one of the best lobbers he's ever played, and he was attributing some of that improvement to you.
That's very nice. I haven't hit one ball this weekend, so I can only get so much credit.
And no mistakes either.
No mistakes, no faults.
Jim, we noticed about halfway through that set, John and Mark got away a little bit from Hughes hitting a lot of the overheads towards Palmer. We assume that's part of the game plan. And Powers kind of stepped over and hit a few too many overheads from our perspective. Did you see that?
Yeah, I think the guys hit a few too many hard overheads to Jared. They're trying to hit most of their overheads down the middle. You can only hit down the middle for so long, but that's the safe spot against Drew and Jared. And sometimes we hit a few too many hard ones, especially in Jared's corner, and he punished them a couple times.
I always feel like after a tight set, first couple games of the next set really establish momentum. It's so important.
Totally agree.
John started off with a fault and a missed lob. There's that down the line ball you wanted to see, Jerry. Jerry was talking earlier about how close to the center stripe Drew Broderick's playing, and that you want to see Mark Powers taking a couple of forehands down that line.
Yeah, I agree, although Drew seems to volley everything.
Amazing how well he volleys, isn't it?
Sure is.
And I'm going to ask Drew about it, if it is like a visual setup that he's just trying to bait Powers to hit down the line, because he's not shifting at all there. He's staying in the middle of the service box.
I don't know if he's trying to bait him or if that's just where he's comfortable standing. It could be either.
Because Mark Parsons assures me that Powers can hit down the line.
He can.
It's not like challenging him.
Boy, Powers is quick.
Sure is.
Did you teach him that too, Jimmy?
Yeah, I taught him foot speed. Took about an hour.
But you're going to have a lot of business coming up. What's your number again?
Tell George Wilkinson that.
Oh, your boss.
Jim works with George Wilkinson at the prestigious Nursing Island Club.
Which is?
Rye, Nursing, New York. But Jim, Powers' volley reminds me a lot of Durant's in terms of his anticipation and the ability to volley on the forehand side.
Yeah, Mark, I totally agree, and it's changed just in the last 4 or 5 months. He's volleying more aggressively. He's all over the net. And I think he's volleying as well as anyone in the game right now.
Yeah, he's really added that cut volley.
He sure has. Nasty. Tough to win a point out here.
He's got the whole package.
Great catch.
This is it long, back to 30 all.
30 all.
So Jim, we've watched these guys just make steady improvement all year long, and I know tactically you have worked on their shots and their shot selection, but you're one of the toughest mentally that's ever played the game. Have you helped them with their mental preparation?
Well, you're nice. I don't know if that's true. Yeah, we talk about it all the time, about just focus. All the cliches, focusing on next point, just focus on the stuff we work on, trying to ignore, how big the moment is, or ignore that you're close to winning or close to losing. And the cliche of one point at a time, especially when there's this much pressure, is really all you can rely on.
But it's really always the last piece that gets fit to the puzzle.
I agree,
It's
totally
let's
agree.
get in shape, let's eat right, let's practice our serves, let's
Oh,
do this.
what a get from Hughes.
But it comes down to moments like this,
Yeah, I totally agree, Jerry.
Wow.
and that's what
40, 30.
Broderick and Palmer have done so well. I mean, Broderick's
Absolutely.
always so mentally tough,
Yep.
but Palmer has helped elevate that.
I agree.
The story I like to tell, which I told Jim, was the Monday after Boston, when Hughes and Powers had demolished Araya Morneau and Durant Parsons.
Dave, Hughes
I got a
Powers,
call
they
from
lead the
Mark
second
Powers.
set, 1 game to
Mark,
love.
what do you think I can do better? He asked me.
Right.
And that's
Hughes
the
Powers won the first
mentality
set,
of a winner.
7-6.
It's not like, oh, we played great and he's looking for accolades. You want to know how we could be better. He
Yeah.
didn't care how they did. You want to know how they could do at nationals. And I love that attitude.
That's a great attitude. Always want to get better.
But isn't it amazing how many people don't have that attitude?
It's true.
Oh, that's an uncomfortable thing for me to do. Yeah, well, it's a new thing. That's
Right,
why it's
right.
uncomfortable. But these guys, I mean, Jerry said something I'd have to disagree with. She talked about their steady improvement. I'd like to use the word meteoric improvement.
Over the course of the season.
I mean, they came into the year a solid fourth, and they walked into nationals a solid first, which is a huge jump to make.
Well, we watched them break through to the quarterfinals the season before, and then the semifinals.
They actually haven't failed to hold their seed since the nationals in Connecticut 2 years ago. All of a sudden, this is a really important game for Broderick Palmer. Just so tough to slow
15
yourself
low.
down and have soft hands when you're moving forward that quickly.
Although I like the blitzing for John and Mark. They're both so fast.
Yep.
That was one of our keys to winning, was the speed of play. If Hughes and Powers can play at a faster pace. We all know Broderick and Palmer like to control the tempo. See, that's the improvement in Hughes in that lob there. Paul Palmer 3 feet out of the service box. Right, Jim?
Absolutely
It's
true,
big.
yep.
It opens
30
up the
love.
court.
Sure does.
Down the line over his left shoulder.
A little more aggressive Palmer we're seeing this set. And of course Hughes runs that down. Boy, they put so many balls in play, Jim.
Sure do. They're so fast.
There's two terrific athletes.
I think I mentioned earlier that I taught them foot speed. Did I
Yeah.
mention that?
Yeah, you did. I was just about to ask you about how much court time do you spend with these guys, or is it more chalk talk?
More chalk talk. We only get on the court about once a month because Mark's in the city with a busy job and John's up in Springfield, Mass. So we seem to only get out about once a month.
Well, they've definitely absorbed it. Oh, what a bomb.
Great overhead. Do we know if there are going to be any more
Love.
1-point penalties against Drew and Jared in this match?
Depends how long they leave the court. Chance to get back to 1-all. Palmer's definitely playing more aggressively
Playing more
right now.
aggressive. Drew and Jared volleys so well.
When it comes down to it, that's what makes them so great.
Yep, great.
Wow.
Great work from Hughes.
Yeah, great roller.
40-15.
The deep lob and then rolled it soft and elicited the volley area from Palmer.
That's a great lob.
Great lob. With a smart overhead.
Yep.
A little spike.
Great
But that's
spike
that
from Hughes.
combination, right? That lob down the line,
I agree.
over his
Yep.
right shoulder, opens up the court. Drew hit a great speed overhead, nice and deep, to counter it. But you're just moving the players around. I mean, it's such a small court, as we all know. Trying to hit through any team's not going to work. You've got to create movement in the net team.
There's that forehand volley of Powers again, which he never seems to miss. Oh, and he misses one,
Game,
and we're
Broderick
tied at
Palmer,
1.
1-1, second set.
So, Jimmy, if you got a chance to talk to the guys as they changed ends, if we had on-court coaching, what would you tell them?
I'd say the first thing, Jared, would be a few more soft overheads down the middle and not force it, especially into Jared's corner.
15,
And then the
love.
other things of what you're talking about is just higher, deeper lobs, especially down the line. I mean, every time they seem to get Drew and Jared off the net, they have a chance for offense. So if they could just, it always, to me, it always comes down to lobs and overheads, lobs and overheads.
Palmer's getting
30
caught in
love.
transition several times, including the point to end the first set. Not used to getting beaten there.
Some volley there.
40, love.
And the pace of play of this game has really belonged to Hughes Powers. Much faster.
Game, Hughes Powers, they lead the second
Good
set,
hold
2
there.
games to 1.
For those love games, they should count double, shouldn't they, Jimmy?
Especially if those guys win it.
You nervous?
I'm nervous. Long way to go in this match, as everyone knows.
Thousands of miles.
Yeah, it sure is.
The APTA thanks our official sponsor, Save-A-Tree, the green choice for tree, shrub, and lawn care. Let Save-A-Tree focus on your landscape so you can focus on your game and enjoy every outdoor moment at home or at play. Save-A-Tree provides environmentally sensitive services to properties in the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Midwestern, and Western regions. Contact them at saveatree.com for a complimentary landscape assessment by a knowledgeable arborist. Okay, Jared Palmer to serve, 1-2, second set. Jim, do you think the on-court coaching, or not the on-court, but the coaching component of the game is really going to grow?
That's a great question, Mark. I don't know, because, I mean, there's so few teams that do it. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if it happens or not. I mean, it's really, I guess, something relatively new in paddle.
Well, if the team that wins the national championship does it, rest assured someone else will be doing it. There's that lob, Jim.
Surprising, but a great lob.
How many times do you think Jared Palmer hits the ball against the back wires and the fly in the course of the season? Wow, a little bit of a blurt from Jared right here, Jimmy. Takes us to love 40. It's always been amazing that we didn't see more of this from Jared, as little as he plays. Hughes Powers are really testing him. Wow.
Game Hughes Powers.
That was
They lead
8
the
points
second
in a
set,
row.
3-1.
Getting a little less nervous?
A little bit less nervous, but not much.
Not much.
Long way to go still. We've all seen these matches change.
Love
2
15.
consecutive games that John started with a fault. Powers reached for that one. Hughes
30.
never picked it up. These are the games you hate to play when you're on top, Jimmy.
And this Powers is doing the same thing happened in the semi-final, and Powers, I was sitting right by the court, and he came back and he said, "Don't worry about it, buddy, let's go." And that's what you want to hear from your partner. If you're not serving well.
A few unforced errors from Jared in a row.
Yeah. Jim, when you see that your opponent is making some errors, how do you adjust your game?
Just keep putting the pressure on him. Give him more chances with this. I don't think you can adjust too much.
Would you play more conservatively?
No, I would keep doing the same thing.
How's that cut?
Great cut from Hughes there.
40.
Really big point in the match here, Jim.
Yep, sure is. Volley. I would keep hitting soft down the middle if I were Mark and John. Let Drew and Jared figure out how to respond.
Oh, what
There are those
hands!
magic hands of Palmer.
Amazing shot.
Looked like he was absolutely beat.
All right, well, Jim, I want to thank you for coming into the booth,
Thanks,
and
Jerry.
we'll let you get back in the stands for your coaching
Thank
duties.
you for having me, Mark. Thank you.
One piece of advice, Jim, keep breathing deeply.
I will try. Thanks, you guys.
All right. Thank you. Wow, that was some hands from Palmer, huh? So Hughes and Powers got the first set 7-6. They're up 3-2 in the second set. I'm going to bring in Jeff Morneau to share his thoughts. Welcome, Jeff.
Well, thanks, Jerry. Thanks for having me. And so far, this has been a very exciting match to watch from the stands. I'm sure you guys have been enjoying it as well.
And Jeff is one of our top-ranked players, and he has spent many a match on the court with both of these teams. So we'd love to get your insights on the match as Drew Broderick is about to serve.
And John Hughes is a member of Jeff's club, which makes John the second best player at the club.
Well, he was for a long time, but I think John has obviously really stepped up his game this year in particular, and so I have officially conceded that club title, and it looks like maybe even a national title if he can get through this one. So, I've played against Drew and Jared a couple of times, primarily with my partner the last 2 years, Juan, and obviously they're a great team. They've won the national title a number of times, I think 3 in a row. And out there, it looks like they're really sticking to their game plan. They were down early, but now they're, when they play consistently, they get the edge. When things get a little quick, it seems to me that Powers and Hughes are winning the points at the end of the day.
And that's what we were commenting on, how well Palmer and Broderick control the speed of play, that they really have been able to dictate all these years. And Drew is just a tenacious competitor, and coupled with Palmer, who's got 2 Grand Slam titles, I think he's even elevated that.
Yeah, I mean, Jared brings Drew obviously has a lot of mental toughness. He's widely recognized as one of, if not the most mentally tough player on the tour.
And a great tactician. He sees the plays, he figures out the player's strengths and weaknesses, and really is a student of the game.
Yeah, and then you got Jared, who's obviously, with his tennis credentials, obviously a mentally tough and physically tough competitor as well. So they've been a very formidable team, very difficult to beat, but Hughes and Powers managed to do it earlier in the year, and I think at the end of the day, the 2 best teams in the country have made it here to the final. And when the match started out, when I saw it, it started out really fast, and Hughes was on fire with that new ball. It was warm out there. He was spinning shots like that all over the place, and they were having a tough time. But Drew and Jared, as they typically do, they managed to slow the pace down and really got back into that first set, and now the match seems to be really tight.
Seems like Palmer's picked up his aggressiveness this second set.
30 love.
Yeah, he's moving around. He's moving to the left, hitting that forehand a little bit more than he was earlier. John seemed to be having a little bit of his way with him with his overheads. Anything short, John has been spinning over there and moving Palmer around. But now when they're dumping balls in the middle, it looks like Jared's moving a little bit to the left, looking to hit his forehand a little bit when he gets the chance.
Love.
Tough one there. I think that's one Mark would like to have back.
Yep, that's his shot.
Yeah, it was set up well.
Game. Broderick
real.
Palmer, 3-3, second set.
Best game for Broderick Palmer.
Yeah, this is going to be, obviously, all the games at this point are big, but this is for sure a big one.
Wow.
That shot right there that John hit when, Mark kind of spins it around the corner and Drew comes running in. He hits it at John, and I've seen him do a couple times a lob volley. And, it seems like maybe John should just sit on the net and try to finish that shot as opposed to trying to lob it back up over Jared.
Love, 15.
Another missed lob from Hughes.
You can see there's a great crowd here at the Glenview Club in Gulf, Illinois. They really come out and support paddle and the nationals and all the league events that they have here. And they've had a big day of paddle, starting with the men's semifinals here at 9, followed by the women's final. Congratulations to Liz Cruz and Gabby Nicolescu.
Quite a performance by them. Gabby Nicolescu is, to me, in my opinion, clearly the best player in the game. She was brilliant today.
She just was completely on fire.
Overwhelmed them.
Yeah. I do think, as they say, that the short lob is what's going to be could be the death of Palmer and Broderick. When they hit that short lob, Hughes is just on fire with that overhead. He's placing it well, he's spinning it everywhere, and it's really causing a lot of problems at the end of the day. When they hit those higher and deeper lobs, Jerry, that's when Palmer and Broderick are able to really slow the pace down. But as soon as those lobs get short, Hughes and Powers, with their spin and their power and their athletic ability, really tend to dominate the point and put Broderick and Palmer in a very defensive position, just like this.
They just have so much bite on the ball. I mentioned that to Mark Parsons when he was in here, that they're spinning the ball so hard that I saw a chunk of the ball come out in Philly, like that.
Yeah.
Beating Drew Broderick on the wires, you'll see that once a year.
And it's just going across the back of the ball. I still can't figure out how tight that ball is spinning to hit the court, hit the screen, and drop like that.
Yeah, it's the short lobs that are going to be it's the lobbing at the end of the day. That, believe it or not, despite all the athletic ability, all the great spectacular shots you see, all the great gets, they're all really set up, Jerry, from a good, high, deep lob and waiting for the right ball like this.
That's exactly what their coach Jim Kaufman said to us about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, he's obviously a great coach because he's got these guys to a very high level, and he's been a great coach for a number of years.
And Drew Broderick has always done that. I mean, he can lob on a dime out of that corner. He finds that little gray area over the play that's in front of him, their left shoulder, and he works that spot. I'm pretty sure he puts a target up there and just drills it and drills it and drills it, because he can hit it on a dime.
And here it is, short lobs, short lob, and then they get themselves in trouble.
Powers looking for the drop shot.
That was a great shot. Drew came in on a blitz, didn't think that Drew Broderick came in on a blitz, didn't think that Powers would smash it, and he took it from above his head and smashed it right at him and went to the body.
Love how Powers closes in every time Palmer looks like he's going to drive the ball. Just great confidence in his hands.
Right, we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor. Uline is the leading distributor of shipping, industrial, and packaging materials to businesses throughout North America. They ship over 2.5 million boxes every day, but they are so much more than a box company. More than 32,000 quality products are always in stock and ready to ship. Outstanding customer service means they're here when you need them, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Uline, the best selection, products, and people for an unforgettable customer service. And we have Jared Palmer, taking a practice serve there as they put a new ball in play.
Powers gets beat in transition. Haven't seen that much happen this week.
It didn't look like Hughes took as big of a swing at that as he probably should have. will say I think this new ball is going to favor Powers and Hughes. Hughes likes to drive the ball off the screen, and if the new ball, it's going to come out a little bit hotter. Additionally, the spins that Mark Powers and John Hughes have been able to put on the ball. Ooh.
Late decision there.
30, love.
And we haven't seen, I mean, Broderick Palmer have done a fabulous job of negating that move where Hughes and Powers go off to the side and move up the court and pounce on that down-up overhead because they just don't play into it.
40, 15.
What I noticed too, Jerry, watching it, you know, as a player who tries to strategize against these two teams, I noticed how disciplined Mark Powers and John Hughes have been about avoiding the same shot to Drew Broderick this entire match. I haven't seen Powers hit more than one or two balls to Drew Broderick's side screen the whole match.
Let court goes long.
Broderick Palmer.
We're tied at 4.
Second set.
Well, if there's going to be a blurt, you'd expect it to happen soon as the pressure mounts.
And you can just sense Palmer raising his level of play. And Broderick is right there.
Let's see if they can keep these lobs deep.
At this stage of the match, absolutely nothing is being given away. Oh, aggressive swing from Palmer.
Yeah,
You like the mindset.
Dangerous shot by Powers. That's right in Jared's wheelhouse. That's one you would expect him to make.
Oh.
And there it is.
Drew Broderick, as the lefty, will be looking into the sun as he's hitting that overhead.
And that's something I was going to actually mention, Jerry, when I came on, was I played on this court yesterday around this time, and I had a very difficult time catching balls coming when I was looking into the sun right around this time of day, coming out of that back corner from the side that Powers and Hughes are on now. It's very difficult to see it. It goes into the sun, then back out of the sun. So it's it could be an effective shot. You could see some errors come out of there.
And the players are very aware of it. Beautiful lob by Jared Palmer. So this is the side.
There it is. That spot right there.
Yep. So
30 all.
John Hughes has to look into that corner if they hit a side back screen. And likewise, Drew Broderick's looking directly into the sun as he's hitting his overheads into that corner.
John Hughes is just, I know those last 3 serves to Jared Palmer all went in and they looked really good, but he's really missed his target there 3 times in a row. He's been serving that ball into the side screen very effectively, and then it just,
30,
when he hits
40.
the backside, it goes into Jared's forehand. He's able to smash it.
Break opportunity.
just missed. I keep saying dangerous shot, but I guess he's 2 for 3 since I've been here.
Finds the side wire there, as you accurately pointed out.
Yeah, and that's really the difference between getting an offensive shot and a defensive one from Palmer on the return.
Advantage Hughes
Back-to-back
Powers.
misses by Palmer takes us from break point to game point. I really like this hard serve on the ad court that Hughes has been hitting down the middle. Three consecutive
Hughes
misses from
Powers.
Palmer.
They lead
On
the second
lobs.
set 5 games to 4.
Not something you would expect to see from him or from Palmer or Drew, especially at this point in the match where they're typically rock solid.
That's shocking.
Oh, Jeff, thanks for stopping by. We'll let you get back out there and have some beers with your buddies. Well deserved, and nice to see that you've recovered from your battles yesterday.
Yeah, long day yesterday. Thanks, Jerry. I'm looking forward to watching the end of this match and seeing how it turns out.
Jeff, your round of 16 match yesterday was absolutely epic. One of the best matches I've ever seen.
Well, thanks. It was a great one to play. It was really fun to be in, and I'm glad we came out on the end of it. But as my partner and I talked about yesterday, even losing that match, it was just so much fun to play. That's why we come here. So
Okay.
I'll let you guys get to the end of this. Thanks so much.
Broderick will serve to stay in the championship, and he opens the game with a fault. But despite missing his target a couple of times last game, really impressed by Hughes' nerve there. Oh,
How about
Powers
the hands of
just
Powers?
brilliant. What a pickup from Palmer. Wow, some action, Jerry. And that'll take him 2 points from the championship.
Love 30.
Crowd's on the edge of their seats here.
And see Jared Palmer taking the moment, walks the ball back to Drew Broderick.
Great dig from Hughes. You know, Jerry, next year maybe we can get one of our statisticians to figure out lob percentage of time they drove the opponent out of the service box.
Yeah, it's, you know, people just don't realize and appreciate just what a great shot it is. It's all, you kind of get caught up in the razzle-dazzle, but the bread and butter of the game.
Powers misses the lob wide. Hughes had really driven him deep, and Powers overcooks it. Another fault from Broderick, and that'll take us to double championship point, Jerry.
Oh, and there's a championship volley by Palmer.
Didn't catch much of the line, but enough is all was needed.
And you can sense the crowd is moved to the edge of their seats.
Broderick faults, game, set, and match. Hughes Powers 7-6, 6-4. Jerry, there's a new sheriff in town.
That is a spectacular season and so well deserved by Hughes and Powers. They worked on their game. We've watched them progress over the season, and as again, they've done it by beating the top teams in the country.
It was a little bit of a shocking end, Jerry. They had break point at 4-all. Palmer misses 3 balls, and then Broderick faulted 3 times in the last game. I'm just kind of speechless about that.
Well, you know, they haven't seen them. They've only been on the court with them twice this year, so they haven't really felt Hughes and Powers and what they do. I mean, it's one thing to watch the tape, but to actually be on the court and handle that barrage of weapons that they have and their athletic ability. And Broderick and Palmer are obviously the champions going in, and as you were like expecting them to win it until they didn't win it.
Yep, and I still think there's a chance they're going to come back today, Jerry. Let me throw that out there. But you could see the rust in Palmer's game. The decision-making wasn't there. The ball that he went to spike and completely missed, he just didn't have that sharpness that you've seen. And I think one of the things that you can attribute that to is the schedule. Last year we had Philly and Short Hills back-to-back. He stayed in the East Coast. He played paddle every day, so we got 10, 11, 12 days of high-level paddle in short order, and I think that really helped him. This year, he hasn't picked up a paddle from Short Hills, which was a month ago. And you can see it. He just wasn't as sharp as he's been in the past.
And we watch him play, his level of his game rose as he played into this tournament, but it just wasn't enough.
But you can play at a certain level, but nobody's playing at the level that Hughes and Powers are playing in. So to get used to that, to accustom to that, that's the process that you talk about so often. To be on the court with players at that level, that's where you get that comfort. And that's clearly what Hughes and Powers went through as the year evolved, as they kept playing against the top teams and their comfort level at that level grew.
So to answer our number one question, could they manage the occasion? And the
That's
answer
an emphatic yes, they can.
So let's hand it down for an interview with our champions. Brad Easterbrook is going to interview Hughes and Powers.
I'm here with our 2018 APTA National Champions, John Hughes and Mark Powers. Guys, what a run. Long Island, Longmeadow, Mass, Boston, Philadelphia, and now 2018 APTA National Champions. Incredible year, capped off perfectly here. So I got to ask, it's your first final. Were there any nerves out there today?
I think that there's always nerves, for me anyways, in any match, and I think, a few games into it, you start to settle down a little bit, and after the first few games, you're kind of just like, oh, it's just another match. We've been here before, so well, I guess technically we haven't been here before, but
right, it's your first one.
You just
right?
try to treat it like any other match and try to handle it the same way. So yeah.
Any nerves for you, Mark?
No, I think I wouldn't call it nerves, but you do go out there understanding that you really do need to execute. Play your probabilities, but I feel like we had a game plan, we executed well. If you play the right way and you're having fun, it's not really nerves. I mean, everybody gets a little tight here and there, but overall we felt really good coming into today. So,
it was truly some amazing points. You started off incredibly fast with a 3-love lead, and then 4 games in a row right back for them, but you were able to regroup. Did you have any moments where you talked to each other, tried to settle each other down or support each other?
I mean, when we went down 4-3, I kind of said to Mark, I'm like, what did we do differently in those last 4 games? And he just kind of said, we just missed a little bit more, and we were going for the right shots, and we have confidence in our shots, and we know, we're going to start to make those, and they're going to even out a little bit. So we just kind of stayed our course, and went from there. So.
Well, that's great. And, Mark, are you surprised at all that John did not fall down in this final or break his hand or is bleeding at all?
If you don't think he's bleeding, he's got 3 Band-Aids on. His paddle's covered in blood. But no, this is actually surprising that he's not.
We should actually get that out here. You really should see his paddle out there, all your viewers. Yeah. Well, guys, congratulations on an amazing year and 5 in a row. That's an incredible, maybe a new dynasty?
Oh, I don't know. We'll see.
These guys are too good to say anything like that, but hopefully we can do some damage next year as well. But these guys are all so strong. You can never say something like that.
I just want to give a shout out to Jim Kaufman. He's been really helpful to us this year, and I don't think we wouldn't have had the success that we've had this year without his help, and so education from him. So we're always learning. So it's been
flew out to Chicago.
He flew out to see us. So it was been good. So yeah.
Well, congratulations here with our 2018 APTA National Champions, John Hughes and Mark Powers. We're going to throw it back inside. All right.
Jerry, just a spectacular final, and you couldn't ask for 2 better people to win the national championship.
Yep.
Just charismatic, gracious, just wonderful gentlemen.
Great sportsman. And so, Mark, I think we need to do a few shout-outs ourselves because we've had a fabulous season with our ENET crew.
Yeah, for me, Kelly, Will, Josh, I'm even going to throw a shout-out to John Scott. Really more. I mean, Kelly and Josh, Will, they really do the hard work. And of course, Lauren Mandel is just tremendous to work with. And one of the biggest shout-outs is to you, Jerry. I know how many hours you put into this thing and what a labor of love it is for you. And it's really a pleasure for me working for you. It's like putting on my favorite shirt when I sit down next to you in the booth.
That's very kind of you. We've had a wonderful team, and it's just fun to be able to share our sport with all the players around the country and everybody getting to enjoy seeing this level of play now that we're live streaming. And thanks to the APTA and the Executive Director Ann Sheedy and Isabel Cobain, and a big shout out to Shannon Vincent, our Grand Prix Tour Director, who has been at the helm month after month as we go from one tournament to the next. I mean, it really has been a collective effort, and we see the Scott Bondurant, who is our president out there, is making the trophy presentations.
And I got to say, if you've enjoyed watching the live streaming, please support the APTA. It costs a lot of money. We don't have a huge budget. You know, if you're not a member, please consider joining and supporting us, because that's how we're bringing you all this wonderful paddle.
And also a big shout out to you, Mark, too, for guiding us through. And all of our announcers. We've got a team: Brad Easterbrook, Patty Hogan, Lauren Mandel, Rodney Workman. We've had plenty of guest announcers, and I really think it's helped to explain the game that we play and share the passion that we all have for this wonderful game.
It's a bittersweet moment for me, Jerry, as it always is. See, I mean, it's been a fantastic season. You love nationals, but you hate to see the year end. It's just been so much fun, and we won't be back with another paddle tournament until October.
Well, we'll gear up. We'll be working through the season, through the off-season, to make things better, as will, I'm sure, our champions and all of our players. And again, congratulations to our women's national champions, Liz Cruz and Gabby Nicolescu. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied at the end of the day. And our men's champions, our new title holders.
New title holders, John Hughes and Mark Bowers.
So that'll do it from us here at the Glenview Club. And that is a wrap delivered by Uline.